You're listening to the Manage My Home podcast, the podcast for property owners who would like help with their rental properties. This show is based on the RPM WV Phoenix team's experience in leasing and managing homes and will give you useful advice and tips to succeed with your rental property. And now, from Phoenix, Arizona, here is Lisa from RPM WV Phoenix.
Hi, this is Lisa, and thank you for joining me for this month's Manage My Home. Today, we're going to be talking about some key items to look for when looking for a multifamily purchase. And these are just three, there's a lot of items to look for, but these are just three really important ones that we've decided to highlight today. The first is going to be the amenities. And I know usually right away people think of amenities and they think of, is there a pool? Is there a workout room? Two of the main ones that we like to look for is there a grassy area within the somewhere within the complex? This is important because if you're going to allow pets in the rentals, it's important that they have an area to walk their dogs and for the dogs obviously to go to the bathroom. And then the other thing that we look at here is whether the community is gated or not. Now, one of the reasons that this is so important is that if it's not gated, the tenants may run into an issue of people outside of the community taking up the parking spaces. And then the tenants and their friends don't have anywhere to park. So that's why we've listed these two amenities as some of the most important. And then in terms of location, always good to be near a major freeway, obviously not on top of the freeway because of noise, but somewhere where you're relatively close to an on-street and on-ramp. And then also, this one is another one that oftentimes people don't think about, but is it easy to enter the complex from both sides of traffic? So if a renter is going to look at your home, let's say, for example, after work during the week, and they need to make a left turn into the complex, is it going to take them 20 minutes because of traffic? Or are they easily going to be able to get into the unit? Because these are things that renters definitely think about when they're thinking about convenience. And you have to remember that these multifamily units have more competition because not only are they competing against other multifamily units, but they're also competing against condos, townhomes, single family. So simple things like ease with which to get in and out of the community can be something that determines whether a tenant will rent there or not. And then the other item we wanted to point out today is the diversity of units. And what I mean by that is we really try to steer away from complexes that are all studios, let's say, or all one bedrooms. It's really nice to have a good mix, maybe some 1, 2, and 3 bedrooms. And oftentimes you'll find the 3 bedrooms are the most in demand. So it is really nice if you can find a complex where they do at least have some 3 bedrooms. And our question today comes from a client who just recently started services with us. They have a tenant in place. The tenant recently sent them a letter from the Phoenix Tenants Union, and the landlord isn't really too sure what to do with the letter. The letter is basically citing some Arizona statutes for why the tenant is allowed to break their lease. So these unions, they're probably all over the country. I know we have one here in Phoenix. And basically what the group is, it's a place for, in my opinion, tenants to go to try to find reasons to legally break their lease, which of course there is no legal reason to break your lease. You're in a binding lease agreement. So usually these letters come across and the tenants are citing various statutes that they're applying incorrectly, rather than reading their lease agreement and going off of what is in their binding lease agreement. Unfortunately, what usually happens is the tenant typically does abandon. They think that they have the legal right to do so, even though that they don't. And then, you kind of have to take it from there. So, unfortunately, it is something that we do see here in the Phoenix area. And, our homeowners, we typically suggest that they proceed cautiously in a situation like that. just because the tenant may, again, because in their mind, they're thinking that they have the legal rights to terminate the lease agreement, even though per the lease agreement, they do not. And if you'd like any information about our services, whether it be residential property management, real estate sales, homeowner association management, please feel free to reach out to us by email at info@rpmwvphx.com or by phone at 602-358-8130. We hope you have a great Thanksgiving, and we'll talk to you next month.